Welcome to the Credibility Nation Show, the podcast that will help you to continually build and grow your credibility. With your host, Mitchell Levy.
Hi, Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert, and welcome to this special credibility episode of Thought Leader Life, where we're talking with amazing humans from around the planet on who they are, what they do, essentially their credibility. Today's guest is Lucie Newcomb, who is the president and CEO of the NewComm Global Group. She is a recognized global B2B strategy, marketing, and business leader, helping companies build, launch, and change things strategically and drive results collaboratively. Lucie, welcome.
Hey, Mitchell. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. Hey, so what is your customer point of pain? What is your CPOP?
Well, organizations that are exploring or navigating global business challenges and opportunities, Mitchell.
Well, I'm sitting back and I'm thinking about that. And I think if you're in business today at any period of time, you've got to decide if you're not doing it, what to do. And if you are doing it, should you continue? Lucie, tell me a little bit more. What do you do?
Well, we help evaluate some of those things, Mitchell. It's really a long-term play. Global business, is not an overnight sensation. It's definitely an investment. And we end up being devil's advocate in that way. Sometimes people tend to have big dreams, especially people who want to come and do business in the U.S. They see big numbers. And we have to say, but then let's look at your target market. Let's look at your niche and so forth. So we really try to help people have a realistic view in what is a very, particularly right now, dynamic environment.
So it sounds like it's mostly that one-on-one coaching or consulting to figure out where they are, does it make sense, some rules to play by? Tell me a little bit more.
Thank you. Well, we have advisory services that do that, and our website actually has some assessment tools that allow anyone to take a look and see if their company is ready to go global or expand globally. Those are two very different things. We can talk about whether it's a particular, company extension, a satellite of some kind, or sometimes it's launching a new product. All kinds of opportunities in that way. We're doing a lot of work right now on staying global because we have, some challenges in the marketplace that are unique and new.
Surprise.
Yeah. And so, things like trade wars 5 years ago, not really part of a marketing plan now. Most marketing plans might want to take a look.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we have, really big surprises like coronavirus that have disrupted supply chains. And so, it's kind of creating enough critical success factors for companies to learn some of the basics about how to navigate through these things. And then we have training as well to help build capacities in that way.
Beautiful. So tell me, Lucie, how do you have credibility to do what you do?
Well, thanks, Mitchell. I'm very honored to be, I think in some ways, other people endow you with that. I've had the privilege of working in global markets for about 25 years. And I've done a lot of work in emerging markets, which I'd say is sort of the turbo global markets experience. And I lived and worked in South Africa for a long time. I've had the pleasure of working in ASEAN, particularly Malaysia and Brunei, Tunisia a little bit. And I'm very grateful for those very immense and intensive opportunities, as well as general mainstream global business experience. I have some certifications as well, if that's of interest. I have a master's degree in leadership because I realized a few years ago that although we were successful in helping companies go to market overseas, to stay and lead was a whole other skill set. And so I pivoted our company and I went back to grad school a few years ago and got a leadership degree because we were actually already doing a lot of these things: leadership development, cross-cultural communications, all these things that help companies really embed their leadership for the long term.
Oh, that's super cool. And how do you go about sharing your credibility?
Well, I'm very honored to be asked to speak and mentor often, and I do that. I volunteer my time probably more than I should, but I really enjoy that. I've been involved with State Department exchange programs such as Tech Women, with many women from virtually around the world. And then, of course, my practice takes me around the world doing that too. And social media has obviously been a tremendous tool. I think global business and social media were twins separated at birth. So I really love doing that. LinkedIn particularly, Twitter particularly also.
And by the way, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if you can volunteer too much if you're adding value back to the world, because it always comes back and pays you. Tell me a little bit more about LinkedIn. What do you do? What do you end up doing on LinkedIn? How do you navigate?
Thank you. Well, just to respond to your comment, I agree. I have a service-based life, and I think the values of my business hopefully reflect my personal values. That's part of why I founded the company. So I have never been disappointed. It's just a question of managing one's time, as most of life is. LinkedIn, I want to actually get more involved. I'm actually going to be broadening our content marketing outreach this year. But I share posts on global business. I am privileged to have a large leadership role on Twitter, in particular on the global business hashtag, to kind of get people thinking in this way about how the dots are connected. If you get the coronavirus happening, then Apple ends up reporting lower forecasted guidance because their supply chain's been disrupted. All these points are connected, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. So we do a lot of go-to-market, and I highlight go-to-market global business often, but just getting people to think about, what happens in Malaysia could affect what happens in America, what happens in Africa could affect your American business. So I use LinkedIn in that way, just very strategic, sort of almost like an editorial calendar in that way.
To both educate, but then you also respond to questions and interact with people as well. Yeah.
And to amplify the work of people doing this work. Yes, definitely. And I need to go deeper into the groups. I just haven't had the chance yet. One of the things is amplifying other people is absolutely beautiful. It's one of those things, 80%, I think 80% of the content people share should be somebody else's. So that's a beautiful statement. So if you're watching this, you're listening to this, and you are currently global or navigating and trying to figure out whether or not you should, and just want support, help, to have an expert you could talk to, reach out to Lucie Newcomb. Lucie, what is the best way for people to reach out to you? Well, thanks. Thanks very much, Mitchell. For an introductory conversation, we offer a global readiness assessment on our website, and we will provide a 30-minute consultation free of charge, 20 to 30, depending on what the results are. And one of the most valuable things about it, I'd like to say it's the consultation, but it might be just getting some awareness around what all the elements are to create global readiness. So just answering those questions. Hopefully you do hit the submit button, but even if you don't, you get a chance to see, one gets a chance to see exactly what all the elements are that are required. It's a lot more complex than a lot of people realize.
Beautiful. And what's your website?
www.newcommglobal.com.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your credibility with us today.
It's a pleasure, Mitchell. Thanks for being our global credibility expert.
You are absolutely welcome. And hey, guys, thanks for watching. Click on the like button, share with your friends, and we'll see you at the next episode of Thought Leader Live. Take care. Bye now.